Beyond the fun of asking what happened on August 16, 1983, and knowing you'll actually get an answer, there is a lot at stake here. The discovery of people with instant access to virtually every day of their lives could recast our whole understanding of how human memory works and what's possible. And that has implications for all of us. Is it possible we all have memories of every day tucked away in our brains, but we just can't retrieve them? Could understanding these remarkable people someday help with Alzheimer's and other memory disorders? Scientists tell us the potential is enormous, but the inquiry is just beginning. The first step, look at and try to figure out what might be going on inside their brains.
The story will continue in a moment.
We watched as the first MRI images of Louise Owen's brain appeared on the screen. The hope is that somewhere in these pictures and measurements will lie the first clue that might explain what makes her memory so extraordinary.
Did you find anything good?
We'll find out.
What did you think you were going to find, and then what did you find?
Well, if you want the honest truth is that I thought, I bet we'll find nothing.
Oh.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like figuring that, if you open Einstein's brain, there's going to be some huge lobe that says genius. You don't find stuff like that.
But Dr. Cahill was wrong. No flashing genius lobes, but they did find parts of the brain that were significantly larger in people with superior autobiographical memory than in control subjects of matched age and gender.
This would be a person looking this way.
He brought along a model of a brain to show us.
There's two areas that are jumping out at us. The first is this area over here called the temporal lobe, and this area is quite a bit bigger. Now, that's intriguing because this is the chunk of brain neurobiologists think has to do with storing new memories.
So not a surprise.
Not a surprise there.
More interesting, he says, is a second region deep inside the brain called the caudate nucleus, which scientists believe is involved in what's called habit or skill learning, and also in obsessive-compulsive disorder. Can you give us an analogy of how much larger these sections are?
A lot larger, perhaps up to 7 or 8 what's called standard deviations larger than normal. To understand what that means, if a man was 7 or 8 standard deviations taller than the height of the average man, he'd be 10 feet tall. So we have some potentially whopping effects.
Giants.
Giants.
Now they need to figure out why.
We have the chicken-egg problem. Do they have these larger brain regions because they have exercised it a lot, or do they have good memories because
these are larger?
Because these are larger.
And what about the fact that the caudate nucleus is thought to be involved in obsessive-compulsive disorder? The scientists think there may just be a hint there. And Exhibit A is Mary Lou Henner's closet.
I love organization. I like my shoes a certain way, right foot going this way, left foot going that way, so you can always see the toe and the heel on every pair. And you'll see that things are very color coordinated here, but in sections. And I always hang like with like, and I have the exact same hangers because then everything slides more easily.
All of them have what we think of as OCD-like behaviors. They love to collect things. They have to have things in just the right order.
What about phobias?
This hypochondria count is like, oh, I hope I don't get this. I hope I don't get that disease.
You have a little germa?
I
germa
wash
thing?
hands frequently. Yeah.
So do I. In fact, I dropped my keys when I was in a hurry driving down here, and I went, all right. No, so I went back in and I washed them off. I ran them off. Yeah, I do that all the time if I drop them.
Can you conclude there's a connection, or we're still way too early?
Because it's showing up in one fashion or another in all of them, I'd say it's our biggest clue.
And when you think about it, they even seem to look for ways to organize their memories.
The thing that is most pleasurable is categorizing any event. Any time I went bowling in my life, any wedding.
That you lived.
Starting as a 6-year-old.
Sometimes what I do is I'll go back July 14th, as far back as I can remember. I just go July 14th, 67, that happened. And then maybe I won't remember 68, but I'll remember 69 and 70. And
or you remember around 68.
But do you all do that?
Yeah.
Louise even compares dates.
I'll scroll all the way back to 1985. I'll be like, well, which were better, March 3rds or March 4ths? A year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and go all the way back. It's sort of like mental gymnastics.
There's a certain irony to the fact that it is Dr. McGaw who is studying this phenomenon because he is known in the field of memory for discoveries these people seem to defy. His work with rats, like this one, that doesn't know there's a platform hidden below the surface of this water tank, prove the role of adrenaline in making strong memories. The rat swims around the edge, then eventually ventures out and by chance bumps into the platform. The next day he'll find it just a little bit faster. But watch this rat that learned where the platform was yesterday, then received a shot of adrenaline immediately afterward.
Notice that it starts out not on the edge.
Ooh!
There you go.
Oh, that's impressive. Adrenaline actually made this rat's brain remember better. And McGaw says the same thing happens in people. When we experience something emotional, positive or negative, our bodies release adrenaline, searing those memories into our brains more strongly. What can you and I do right now to make sure we remember this conversation? I could kick you.
Yeah, or I could embarrass you. Most of my research is with laboratory rats. And suppose I said all of a sudden, oh, and I'm going to demonstrate to you, and I drop about 6 rats right at your feet.
I'd remember, believe me, I'd remember.
You'd remember. I said, excuse me, don't sit on her lap. Excuse me, you're not supposed to be there. I think you'd remember that.
Now, the people that we're meeting now,
yes,
they wouldn't need those rats. And that's what's so baffling. These people do remember the ordinary, non-emotional events the rest of us routinely forget. Lots of sports fans can remember highlights from particularly exciting games. Bob Petrella, a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, remembers every game. When was the last time the Redskins beat the Steelers?
Let's see. They played them in 2004, and the Steelers won. They played them in 2000, the Steelers.
We sat there as he scanned back through 19 seasons in 19 seconds.
Oh, in 91. Yeah, they played in 91, November 17th, 1991. This is fun.
Bravo. We tried even further back. What were the last 2 games in October of 1979?
Let's see, the 22nd. They played Denver on Monday night, and I think they won 42-7.
Yep.
And then they played, Dallas on October 28th, Sunday. It was on CBS, so you can get that game.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
We did. We got that game. And 31 years later, he was able to describe plays.
Staubach was scrambling, and Elsie Greenwood just slammed right into him. It was in the 4th quarter.
Staubach really took a shot. He was hit by Greenwood.
He even remembered specific images from the broadcast.
I remember Staubach just sitting on the bench. You could just tell he was out of it.
How about November 11th, 1990?
They didn't play. That was a bye.
You're good. That was a trick question.
No, I remember that day because I was depressed. I had broken up with this woman, and I was going out to run a couple of videos, and I was thinking about her.
There's a quote that I love. It's by the great psychologist William James. He said, if we remembered everything, we should on most occasions be as ill off as if we remembered nothing.
And that's what the field of memory has always considered a given, that a healthy dose of forgetting is crucial to our ability to think.
You abstract and generalize, in part because you forget. When you have a trip to work, and you have the same trip every day, you abstract and you generalize a typical trip to work because you don't remember every single detail of every single trip. So a little forgetting is needed to help you abstract and generalize.
Well, that's what I always thought, until I met your 5 subjects today. Do you ever get the feeling that all these memories are cluttering up your mind? But it's just too much up there, and I need to sweep this away?
It's organized. You know what I mean? It's organized, so it's called on when you need it. But it's not like they're like, oh, they're coming in all the time. And I don't feel like
it's
that.
not overwhelming.
The surprising thing is that these people don't appear to have cluttered brains. They can pull out the right information at the right time, and that's the puzzle.
It's the real puzzle.
That's the puzzle.
It kind of takes everything we've all assumed, scientists and ordinary people, and said, come on, guys, rethink it.
Yeah, got to do some rethinking, but that's fun. That's part of the fun part of science.
This is where the saliva goes.
And they're pursuing every avenue they can. DNA testing to see if there are differences in their genetic makeup, handedness testing, since all three men are lefties, to see if that yields any clues.
Well, which way would you cartwheel? I mean, could you imagine going this way, or could you imagine...
I'm offering to do cartwheels.
The inquiry is just getting started, with 6 willing subjects eager to see where it all will lead, and who knows how many more still out there.
I've always loved having this memory. I feel as an actress and as a writer, it's been indispensable. As a mother, as a wife, certainly.
Why do you say that?
Oh my gosh. No, because you can never lose an argument. No, you didn't say that. I said this, You said this.
Yeah, but maybe he doesn't like it so
no,
much.
I know. Yeah, well,
Is
that's
that a
probably why I'm
problem?
on my third. Yeah.
Which raises a real question, since Mary Lou is the only one of the 6 subjects who is married or has children. You would think that in romance,
It can be tricky. Yeah.
it can be tricky.
I think so.
Breakups must be
Horrible.
horrible because you cannot not remember.
Right.
I find it intriguing that 4 out of 5 of you are not married, and as far as I'm aware, are not in a relationship. Do you all think there's a problem having this memory and having a good relationship?
I like to think it's coincidence.
You're going to remember everything? You're going to win every argument?
Although I think it's, it's what you do with it. I mean, I try not to be defined by this.
And she says, for the most part, she succeeds. Overall, is it a good thing? Are you glad you have this?
I am.
You are?
I am. I mean, sure, there are times when it's difficult, but I feel like it makes me live my life with so much more intention and so much more joy. Like,
What do you mean more intention?
Because I know that I'm going to remember whatever happens today. It's like, all right, what can I do to make today significant? What can I do that is going to make today stand out?
As you watch these remarkable people, and as you think back on, say, my 3 children, how little I can actually remember from when they were 4, 5, 6, you start to wonder, why are we the default state? Why are we normal? And they're the unusual ones. Why didn't we evolve such that most of us are like them and we're the unusual ones, the people who can hardly remember anything? It just makes you wonder.
Go to 60minutesovertime.com to hear the unforgettable story about how the memory piece was made.